Why you cannot stop overthinking. You are lying in bed. The room is dark. The house is quiet. Everyone around you is asleep. But your mind is running a meeting that nobody called, replaying a conversation from 3 days ago, rewriting what you should have said, imagining what they meant, planning for a problem that has not happened yet, preparing for a disaster that probably never will. And the worst part is, you know it is not helping. You know you should just sleep. You know you are going in circles. You know none of this thinking is actually solving anything, but you cannot stop. And if that is you, this video is not going to tell you to just relax, because you have tried that. This video is going to tell you the truth about why your mind works this way and why it is not the flaw you think it is. Part 1. Overthinking is not a bad habit. Most people treat overthinking like a character flaw, like it is something weak people do, something you could just switch off if you were disciplined enough, if you were strong enough, if you just tried harder to be present. But that is not what the science says. Psychology tells us that overthinking is not random. It is not laziness. It is not weakness. It is a response. Specifically, it is the response of a mind that learned somewhere along the way that the world was not entirely safe and that thinking ahead was the only way to stay one step ahead of the pain. Think about that for a moment. Your overthinking brain is not broken. It is loyal. It is doing exactly what it was trained to do. It is scanning. It is preparing. It is trying to protect you. The problem is not that it is doing its job. The problem is that it never learned when to stop. Part 2. Where it actually comes from. Here is what most people never get told. Chronic overthinking almost always has a starting point. It does not just appear out of nowhere one day. It grows slowly, quietly, usually in an environment where things were unpredictable. Maybe you grew up in a home where the mood could shift without warning. One moment everything was fine, the next it was not, and you never quite knew which version of the day you were going to get, so your brain adapted. It started paying attention to everything. The tone of a voice, the way a door closed, the look on someone's face before they spoke. It started running simulations in the background. What if this happens? What if that happens? What if I say the wrong thing? What if I do not say enough? And that constant background scanning, that was not anxiety. That was intelligence. That was a child doing the only thing they could to feel safe in a world that kept surprising them. The thinking kept you alert. The thinking kept you prepared. The thinking, in many ways, kept you okay. And so your brain kept doing it, even after you left that environment, even after the danger passed, even now, in a quiet room, in a safe life. Your brain is still scanning, still preparing, still protecting you from storms that are no longer coming. Part 3. The loop and why you cannot break it. Here is why overthinking is so hard to stop. It feels productive. That is the trap. When you are lying awake, running through every possible outcome of a situation, it does not feel like suffering. It feels like preparation. It feels like you are doing something, like you are being responsible, like if you just think about it long enough, you will find the answer that makes everything okay. And sometimes you do find an answer, but then a new question appears, and then another, and before you know it, 2 hours have passed, and you are further from peace than when you started. Psychologists call this the illusion of productive worry. The mind mistakes the act of thinking for the act of solving. But there is a difference between thinking that moves you forward and thinking that just moves. One has a destination, the other is just motion. And the cruel thing about overthinking is that it is almost always the second kind. You are not getting closer to the answer, you are just getting more tired. Part 4. What overthinking does to your body. Most people think of overthinking as a mental problem, But it lives in the body too. When your mind enters a loop, your nervous system does not know the difference between a real threat and an imagined one. To your body, the anxious thought about tomorrow's conversation feels the same as standing in front of something genuinely dangerous. Your heart rate increases slightly. Your muscles hold a little more tension. Your breathing gets shallower without you noticing. And this happens over and over and over again throughout the day. So by the time you reach the end of a day where nothing bad actually happened, you are exhausted, not from what you did, from what you thought. From the dozens of small emergencies your mind invented and your body responded to, that never actually arrived. This is why overthinkers are often tired in a way that sleep does not fully fix, because the rest their body needs is not just physical. It is the rest of not having to be on guard anymore. Part 5. The personalities most likely to overthink. Not everyone overthinks equally. Research consistently shows that certain types of people are more prone to it. Empaths, people who feel things deeply and absorb the emotions of others. Their minds are always processing not just their own experience, but the energy of everyone around them. Perfectionists, people for whom good enough is never quite enough. Their minds loop because they are always searching for the version of the decision that has no risk, no regret, no possible downside. People pleasers. Those who have learned that other people's comfort matters more than their own. They overthink because they are constantly calculating. How will this land? Will they be upset? Did I say too much? Did I not say enough? And deep thinkers, people whose minds naturally go further, wider, deeper than the average thought. They do not just see what is, they see what could be, what might be, what probably will not be, but what if it is? If you recognized yourself in any of those, you are not overthinking because something is wrong with you. You are overthinking because your mind is wired for depth in a world that rewards speed. Part 6. What actually helps? This is not a video that ends with breathe deeply and go for a walk, because you already know that. What actually helps overthinkers is something more specific. The first thing is learning to tell the difference between thinking and processing. Thinking goes in circles. Processing moves through something and comes out the other side. If you have been sitting with the same thought for more than 20 minutes and it has not brought you any closer to peace or clarity, you are no longer thinking about the problem. You are using the problem as a place to put your anxiety, and the anxiety needs something else. Not more thinking, just acknowledgement. The second thing is understanding that certainty is not coming. Most overthinking is a search for certainty in situations that will never offer it. You want to know that the conversation will go well, that the decision is the right one, that things will work out, that you will not be hurt, and no amount of thinking will give you that guarantee. The only way through is accepting that uncertainty is not a sign that something is wrong. It is just the texture of being alive. The third thing, and this is the hardest one, is learning to trust yourself. Overthinkers often do not trust their own judgment. That is why they check it so many times. That is why they replay it so many times. That is why the thought never feels finished. But here is the truth. The person who has thought this carefully, this deeply, this thoroughly, is exactly the person whose judgment can be trusted. You have already done the work. You are allowed to rest now. The reframe. Here is what I want you to take away from this video. Your overthinking mind is not your enemy. It is a loyal, exhausted, overworked part of you that has been trying to keep you safe for a very long time. It learned its habits in a world that required them. And it has not yet been shown that the world has changed. That is not a flaw to fix. That is a story to understand. Because when you understand where it comes from, something shifts. The thoughts do not disappear overnight, but they lose a little of their power. Because you stop fighting them and start listening to them differently. Not as warnings, as echoes of an old fear in a life that has already moved on. You are safe now. Your mind just has not gotten the message yet, and that is okay. You can keep reminding it, gently, patiently, as many times as it needs. That is not weakness. That is the most intelligent thing you could possibly do.